Space, both in our world and the world of Pokémon, is terrifying. Its vast emptiness, incredible power, and potential for unfathomable creatures inspire fear in many for a reason. But I'm here to tell you that we have it nice. Compared to our world, space in the Pokémon universe is nightmarish, and today I want to show you why. We'll be covering everything from extraterrestrial Pokémon to cataclysmic events to horrors the human mind can barely imagine. And I can guarantee that this video will make you more scared of space, both in our world and in theirs. Cosmic horror sits at the center of the fear of outer space. The idea that there are beings out there that are immensely powerful and incomprehensible to the human mind. That the life we experience is but a thin film over a far more alien existence. One that would shatter our conception of the universe if we ever actually experienced it. It invokes a feeling that is nearly impossible to put into a visual medium, because we're not supposed to understand it. But the Pokémon games do their best to bring cosmic horror to life, and as such have a number of creatures that could fall into this category. The biggest and probably most notable is Eternatus. Eternatus in its normal form looks just a little bit unearthly. It has no real eyes, no mouth, and is wholly translucent. Something resembling Eternatus could be found in the oceans, where the most alien of life forms are found on Earth. But its Eternamax form is where it becomes the Pokémon that is the closest to representing cosmic horror. Eternamax Eternatus does not make sense. It is completely and wholly alien. It appears to be a hand, but each of its fingers have their own mouths on them. Its body is just a spiraling mess with no easily discernible end on it. It's like the hand of a god reaching down to the world of Pokémon and finding unexpected resistance. What's most interesting about Eternamax Eternatus to me, though, is just its sheer size. The Eternamax form is over 300 feet long. It is by far the largest Pokémon in existence, dwarfing even giants like Zygarde Complete, Ultra Necrozma, Wailord, and God itself. It feels like a being that was never meant to exist on Earth. Entirely too big to be considered an animal or Pokémon by our conventional standards, and that's not even speaking about the sheer level of power it possesses. It produces infinite amounts of energy in its Eternamax form, and can apparently warp the time and space that surrounds it, distorting the domains of the Pokémon closest to Arceus. But when it comes to bizarre and unearthly Pokémon, I don't know if there are any that come close to the Ultra Beasts. Technically, the Ultra Beasts aren't from outer space, rather they originate from other dimensions. But I feel like we can't talk about cosmic horror without talking about these utterly otherworldly beasts. They were explicitly designed to look bizarre, with many of them incorporating design elements that are not typically considered for normal Pokémon in order to give them their unique looks. Many of them feature human components that are stretched and distorted, like Pheromosa, which has an almost human figure if not for its extreme skinniness. Another is Nihilego, which takes the appearance of human hair, or Buzzwole, who could be mistaken for a regular Pokémon if it wasn't for its mosquito stinger of a nose or its weird quadrupedal legs. But there are also ones that create the same sense of unease by removing human features, namely faces. Xurkitree, Blacephalon, and Kartana all seem to lack notable facial features that could help them look more normal. And you could even say the same for Stakataka and Celesteela, because their faces are just so bizarre. While I'm not sure I would say the Ultra Beasts inspire a feeling of horror or fear, they definitely inspire a feeling of unease, especially if you've seen their promotional material. These found footage snippets really put into context how weird the Ultra Beasts are, and really help to bring these bizarre creatures to life. But there's more to space than just its incomprehensibility that makes it scary. In many cases, it is what we know is out there that scares us as well. The universe is deadly. It is harsh, unforgiving, and uncaring. It cares not for the millennia of civilization we have built here, and could fling an earth-shattering meteor into our path because of an event that took place millions of years before we existed. A star could implode somewhere and send a burst of energy across the universe, strong enough to strip the Earth of its ozone layer and sterilize the land we walk on. A planet like Earth and a species like humans can currently hardly prepare for disasters of such proportion, yet they are seen time and time again in the Pokémon games, primarily with meteors. A devastating or world-ending meteor is not a new invention as a threat, but it is one that has played a major role in a number of Pokémon games. The original Pokémon Mystery Dungeon games revolve around saving the world from one such object, as the player must climb Sky Tower and ask Rayquaza to save the world, which it does quite easily. But most of the meteors we see in Pokémon are notable because they carry a passenger. The aforementioned Eternatus in all its bizarre glory is one such beast, crash landing on Earth 20,000 years ago before resting for 17,000 of those. Solrock and Lunatone are another pair that supposedly crash landed on Earth some time ago, but there is one Pokemon in particular I want to focus on while we're on this topic: Kyurem. Kyurem might sound like a weird one. Its origins are with Zekrom and Reshiram, right? How could it possibly be an alien? Well, it's because of an old fable from Lacusona Town. This fable states that Kyurem originally crash-landed on the planet via an icy meteor or comet. According to this fable, Kyurem would devour humans and Pokemon alike if they were found outside Lacusona Town at night. This, of course, conflicts with its potential origins of being the leftovers of the original dragon, but I think that alone highlights how our perception of an unknown being can stretch and twist under strenuous circumstances. Perhaps Kyurem didn't originate from a meteor, but the idea of a Pokemon devouring humans and spreading a frigid wind was so unusual and alien, it inspired fear in the townspeople, and so the legend spiraled. This is how so many urban legends begin, and it's also how a number of alien encounters likely go in real life too, with the dark of night obscuring and exaggerating the truth of what the retellers saw. Kyurem is interesting because it sort of bridges the gap between two different space-related fears: the fear of annihilation, which we have been talking about, and the fear of visitors from another world. The potential for intelligent extraterrestrial life has intrigued humans since we knew there were other planets. What would they look like? How would they act? Would they like us? We have been beaming message after message into space, trying to find someone or something to communicate with, but it's all been fruitless. The Pokemon world, though, that's a different story. Extraterrestrial Pokemon have existed since the very first generation, and technically every Pokemon we've talked about thus far has been extraterrestrial. But to me, there is no Pokemon that embodies the idea of extraterrestrial more than Deoxys. Deoxys was, at least for me, the very first Pokemon to inspire questions about space and Pokemon. Sure, there were others that came before it, but it was the bizarre design of Deoxys combined with its otherworldly music and supernatural encounter in the GBA games that really upped the ante for me. Not only was its main form otherworldly, but it had 3 more forms that all looked extremely alien in their own ways, yet still looked like Deoxys. Deoxys attack looks aggressive with its sharpened head and whip-like arms. Deoxys defense looks sturdy with its bulkier, more rounded body, and Deoxys speed looks speedy with its sleek body and aerodynamic head. It feels like the Pokemon equivalent of the Predator, a life form that has evolved to be the perfect hunter. It is a truly horrifying idea that one being can fall from another planet and completely disrupt our way of life. And this is pushed even further in the ORAS games, where Deoxys essentially becomes the main antagonist of the Delta episode. It is also interesting that so many strong Pokemon seem to be trapped in meteors that just happen to fall to Earth. Eternatus, Kyurem, and Deoxys all arrived on Earth via a meteor. They're all all extremely powerful Pokemon, and all act as the main antagonists of the games they are present in. Well, Kyurem is more of a tool used by Deoxys, but the depiction of DNA splicing that Kyurem uses doesn't exactly make the Pokemon look benevolent. Why do so many threatening Pokemon come from meteors? Is there something out there trying to threaten humanity? Is it just a coincidence? Does Arceus just like stuffing strong Pokemon into meteors for some reason? Realistically, it is probably a coincidence. But the fact there could be an alien race light years away sending Pokemon to Poke-Earth as a means of invasion is certainly fascinating at the very least, and mortifying at the very most. There is another Pokemon that I think might hold an even closer resemblance to aliens from real life than Deoxys does. The Behem line. This is a small and forgotten line from Unova that is directly inspired by the Roswell incident, one of the most famous alien accounts in modern history. In 1947, a military air balloon crashed near Roswell, New Mexico. The military initially announced that they possessed a flying disc after the incident, but quickly retracted the statement, claiming instead that it was just a regular old weather balloon. But it wasn't until 1980 that the incident was really popularized by the book The Roswell Incident, which really opened up the door for UFO conspiracy theories on the crash landing. Elgium and Behem are visually inspired by accounts of both the aliens that were supposedly in Roswell and their spacecraft. A common trope among these alien sightings of the 20th century is memory manipulation, either having memories erased or altered by aliens or the government to ensure you forget they existed. These two Pokemon also draw inspiration from this idea as well, especially Behem. With its psychic powers, it rewrites opponents' memories. You too may have already had your memories rewritten. Memory manipulation in this manner is one of the most terrifying superpowers there is, because so much of our lives depend on what we remember. The idea a Pokemon can alter what you remember for whatever reason is very unsettling, and there is very little we can do to know if it has happened to the character we interact with. Another Pokemon that might originate from another world is Starmie. While Starmie has not been confirmed to be an extraterrestrial Pokemon, many suspect it might be, as it spends nights sending radio signals into the sky as if it were trying to communicate. With what? We don't know. Starmie on its own might not be that scary, but it is a bit more insidious seeming now thanks to its mega evolution. Not only does it look insane, but according to its Pokedex entry, it might also want to supplant humanity too, meaning it might want to take the role of humans as the apex predator on Earth, which is just a bit of a scary idea. It recontextualizes the communication its base form takes part in, giving it a hint of wickedness for the implications of invasion. The idea that there are already who knows how many Starmies on Poke-Earth just waiting for the right circumstances to mega evolve and take over is inherently horrifying. It's a well-planted, well-communicated takeover from within. How long could humanity hold out against an army of these? Granted, its Pokedex entry also mentions that its new form could be an attempt to communicate with humans, which explains why it moves in such a human way, but I find the first possibility so much more interesting. But there are also Pokemon that highlight the potential for friendly interplanetary relations, and they've been around for as long as Starmie has. It's Clefairy. The whole evolution line for Clefairy is said to have originated from meteorites, and whenever a meteorite lands, Cleffa are nearby. This does paint a somewhat funny image of these cute little pink things being there when Eternatus and Kyurem landed, but considering their fairy types, I'm sure they were fine. The Clefairy evolution line is among the most beloved lines in both the world of Pokemon and the real world, and while it certainly doesn't inspire the fear we've been talking about in this video, I at least wanted to mention it, because it is certainly an extraterrestrial Pokemon, and one of the earliest ones at that. But we have to get back to the dark stuff. The most unnerving and existential dread-inducing aspect of space is just its vastness. The unending nature of space is what makes it incomprehensible. It is what gives it the ability to hold untold civilizations and machinations we can only imagine. Point Nemo is the oceanic pole of inaccessibility. It is the point on Earth that is the farthest from any land, any human being. It is truly in the middle of nowhere. No marine or air traffic routes take people around this location, and 1,600 miles separate you from the nearest shore. The only hope you have for another human being closer than than that is for the International Space Station to pass overhead 250 miles away. I tell you this to give you perspective. The distance from Point Nemo to the nearest shore is 150 times shorter than the distance between the Earth and the Moon. To get to the Sun, you would have to travel this distance 58,000 times over. To leave the solar system, over 2 million times. And to travel just 1 light year, you need to travel this distance 3.6 billion times over. The nearest inhabitable planet to Earth is just over 4 light years away. It is an incomprehensible distance. Even when I break it down in a way that provides some sort of perspective, it is still hard to imagine traversing a distance that massive. And yet, in Ultra Sun and Moon, we are able to travel thousands of light years at a time through ultra space. What passes in seconds as we leap across dimensions on the back of a lion or a bat are distances we cannot understand. Distances that would send us across galaxies. Distances that could answer so many questions about the universe if we were able to traverse them in real life. And the worlds we find on the other end are just as alien as you would expect. The planet where a god was killed. The planet where one consumes it. Planets where wires exist with sentience. And planets with trees the size of mountains. Untold wilds, beauties, and threats. There is something magical about being able to travel further than any human likely ever will in a matter of seconds, but it's also important to remember the dangers that could present themselves. If something goes wrong while you're on another world, the odds of you being rescued are basically zero. Thousands of light years from home, the odds a rescue party could even be dispatched are low. Even if they do, there are hundreds of wormholes to choose from in ultra space. The odds the rescuers pick the right ones before you expire aren't exactly high. Sure, you could share the color you expect to go down, but what if you mess up and take another? Even if you do take the correct one, there are still so many wormholes to choose from. You could easily end up stranded trillions of miles from home. And even if you do come back, there's no guarantee you'll be the same. We've seen a number of characters fall through ultra wormholes and lose significant parts of their memories. Most notably, Mon, who originally discovered ultra wormholes but lost his memory when he fell through one in an experiment gone wrong. Another is Annabelle, the frontier brain turned international police officer who awoke on Pawnee Island with very few memories, aside from her name and her region of origin. So rescue itself might provide physical safety, but it could still come at a cost. In the end of the universe, at the end of time, eons after the last light has died out and the last life with it, space will still exist. Cold, dark, and vastly empty, yet still teeming with secrets. I hope this video helped you understand why space is feared by so many. Why, where so many people see wonders, others see horrors. Personally, I'm more on the wonders side, but it's always important to remember what could be out there, lurking in the dark, or perhaps what's not.